friends. You're going to have to bear with us. It's true that this is Battletech Blades of Honor, the first season, the 11th episode. However, it should be noted that this is the first tabletop RPG show I've had in like a month and a half, and this group has not met in like about that same time, maybe even closer to 2 months. So we're a little rusty here. There have been several Windows updates, so fortunately I double-checked to make sure my microphone was being picked up, but who knows if it's even the right microphone, you know what I mean? Like, anything could happen here, so bear with us. That said, there were some pretty major events the last time things went down. And it's now 3046 for essentially the first real time. So I just wanted to do a little recap before I ask everybody what their goals are. Our story began with 3 warriors who rose to power recently, or arrived on a planet to assume their mantle as samurai, who were organized into a new unit to execute priority missions for their baron, Koji of Clan Nosagi. They would come to be known as the Blades of Honor. Their journey has led them to seek the past of Clan Kyeda, a marriage for Clan Arnsson, and business dealings for Clan Genji. And revolving around all of it, a deal on a hotel and casino being set up on the waterfront. Between the busy moments of their lives, there's been an attempted battle mech raid on the Kyeda estate, and a spontaneous festival which barely made it over the finish line, a lot of time on the water in boats, and an uneasy feeling that something big was coming. The wave crashed down as Clan Takeda and its leader, the Samurai Takamori, planned a home invasion on Planetary Chairman's Day. Forewarned and forearmed, the Blades of Honor met steel for steel and quickly established dominance with violence. A final duel led to Takamori dying in the house of his clan's longtime enemies, ambitions unrealized and unraveled. One of his successors stole the family's katana and absconded off the planet, while the Blades of Honor wrested their way through the new year and looked upon the harvest of a year's work. However, in the dark streets of Hangetsu Bay, Yakuza from a rival city struck down Lady Matsuri. Fleeing the scenes like cowards after lashing out at the witnesses, word has spread that a noblewoman was killed, the intended of the samurai house of Arnsson. The blade of Clan Takeda flees further beyond the borders of the Draconis Combine, even as a growing call for vengeance roars out over the streets of Hangetsu Bay. For a samurai of the Draconis Combine, Giri and Ninjo represent duty and obligation, the scales of the heart. In the new year of 3046, our heroes will find both sorely tested. I feel like that was, I didn't check with these guys beforehand. I feel like that was most of what we did. Did I miss anything important?
I think that the home invasion was on Planetary Chairman's Day Eve.
I think I said that, right? I said Planetary Chairman's Day.
He said Planetary Chairman's Day.
Well, I have it all written down. I wrote Planetary Chairman's Day Eve. But thank you for correcting me.
Yes.
We could say it happened slightly after midnight, but no, you are correct. So I have some goals here, but I want to give you all the opportunity to change those goals given what we know, and maybe you've thought about things in the time that we've been away. So for Siegfried, I have 2 goals. One that says, have a good funeral, and the second one that says, start a business that's turning a profit. Now, my recollection is that you have already rolled to secure a good funeral, and we simply need to execute the funeral scene this time around.
Correct. I believe you're correct.
Okay. For Kyeda, I have identify what happened to your family. Obviously, we've gotten through most of that. You could, I don't know if I gave you experience for this. I feel like we could claim this is wrapped up. There's a little bit more. I don't know if there's a way, I would call it tertiary. I don't know if there is a way to bring it up naturally. Oh my goodness, I just noticed the cameras are out of frame. There it is! There it is! At least the sound is working, right? At least the sound is working. And also you have a goal to get the blackjack working. I think you've failed on the roll. every time.
I fail for this year. I've only
Okay.
rolled once for it for this year, and for the end of
3045.
3045
yes.
and fail. That's right.
Yep.
And I had so definitely, because at the end of the previous session to the last one, I'd find out what happened to my family, but you told me that you weren't awarding it then because I still had to catch up with Lord my friend. Actually, back to these notes again.
I got it. Lord Cho of Clan Sung.
Cho, that's right, yeah. Which I did then in the final episode, and you did award the points for that. So that goal
that's
is now
off
removed.
the table. That sounds
yeah.
right.
Now I did. I spoke to you briefly about a goal I was thinking of after the last session, and I'll bring that up now. But I wanted to just quickly ask you because I want to set what I think is quite a large goal, and that is returning House Takeda's sword. But I mean, that could be something that, for example, that takes months, if not years, to achieve. So in the way that goals are supposed to be set in this game, can you break a larger goal down into smaller goals? Like say the first step is to, secure permission and knowledge of where to go to, basically.
Yeah.
So I guess that's probably what I want to place the family goal with is that I basically want to get the ability to either on my own or with my friends leave the planet to go searching for the runaway Scion and the sword.
That's Alouette Kyeda, who has run away with the sword. Yeah, interesting. Okay, remember in the intro when I was talking about Kiri and Ninja, duty and obligation, and how some of you might want to stay here and solve this Yakuza problem, and others of you might want to go chase after this sword. And it's almost like those two things perfectly amplify the samurai ethics. It's crazy how that happened, man. It's absolutely insane. And all it took was me going, damn, I gotta kill Matsuri.
All it took was Andrew making a bad roll when it came down to children.
Roll. Yeah.
Terrible roll, and then rolling the exact same thing when I got to reroll.
Crushing the hopes of everyone.
My luck holds out. We'll get more bad rolls tonight.
House Genji has some goals, but I'm pretty sure Rat has already said he's going to throw these out for some corporate shenanigans. But what I have on the table is align myself with the new lord in the casino district, but that is bolded, so probably I think I might have awarded you some XP for that. And get Lord Kyeda a wife, which, I mean, Lord Kyeda has a fiancé. So what would you call that?
So you can only have two, right?
Correct. Just thinking. Processing.
Yeah, so I also have the one with the casino one. Oh, I have it marked as done, and then I received 500 XP for it.
Mm-hmm.
So we know out of character who was responsible for Matsuri's death, but we don't know in character, right?
In character, it's just been called a Yakuza killing.
Okay.
Someone with tattoos who had, illegal military hardware did it.
Then I think probably we can keep unless you want to count the Lord Kyeda wife thing as done. I'll keep that one until it's locked in.
I thought about this for a while. I don't think the wedding can go forward until there is a new head of Clan Takeda, which means the sword has to be returned. So that
I was really thinking like I might get to the point where I say that I want the returning her family sword to be my wedding gift to my wife.
Look at that. And now not only do you not have to pay for the wedding, but you also have got the wedding gift locked up with minimal cost. That's value right there.
I'm kind of thinking that the death of Mitsuri's death will kind of send my character in a new direction, a different direction.
Okay.
Potentially, at least for a while, for what one might call a story arc. but so that's like a big goal. Big goal would be like revenge, right? But goal right now is probably just find out who's responsible.
You're gonna hit the
Right?
streets.
Investigate the murder, right?
My answer's from the streets.
If only you had a cop friend that you could turn to, and
right?
Specifically part of an anti-Yakuza unit. All right.
Well,
I'm not going to write get my answers from the streets here. I'm going to write investigate who is responsible for Matsuri's death.
Yes.
Look, I know that, you know, being a part of the show doesn't make me a fan of the show, but definitely I am fan shipping Akari and
but that's intentional. I made it that way.
You're not the only one.
I guess. I mean, I feel like most of what you've done to him has been like, I'm gonna fucking murder you.
Yeah.
Hey, friends to enemies. So I mean, not friends to enemies.
Enemies to lovers.
Enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
It's a classic trope. Yeah, that's right.
Well, maybe this will be the tie that binds
fish.
right here.
Cthulhu shows up.
Credits.
I
need to.
That's how some of Bigger Fish work. You've seen Star Wars Episode 1. Oh,
yeah. No, I know all about it. There's always a bigger fish.
Yeah, that's what that's from.
What I learned. That's what it taught me.
So
I got to figure out how to level up because I didn't do that.
Okay.
And I need to roll 2d6 for new hit points, I guess.
Oh,
yeah, you get 3 skill points to spend, basically.
3 skill points to spend
as an expert, and how much it costs to go up in skills depends upon what level it's going to and whether it's a class skill or not. Which for you is pretty much all skills except combat skills.
Right. Let me roll these green dice.
Well, that's pretty good so far.
Boom diggity. All right.
I think
I'm really glad
because your hit points are showing because you were at 60 points before, now you're at 7. I think you'd already rolled it previously.
Oh, did I? Maybe you're right.
That's so unfortunate for you.
That's too bad. We'll just say that this was whatever my first roll of the game is. That we'll count that.
Wow. Okay. Wow. We're talking about that call shot. All right. So you're holding some hot coffee and you're walking into the Baron's office.
I rolled to find out who killed Matsuri. Boxcars. Tell me who it was. Give me a name and an address.
I'll tell you what, Rad. You can write down somewhere you'll remember, maybe next to your hit points, that when you level to 3, your first 2 dice will be 6 and 6.
Okay.
So you only need to roll for the 3rd die to see how much you get.
Level 3 HP. Okay.
I mean, giving you an outstanding double 6 on the first roll of the game, that's too dangerous.
That's too dangerous. I try to find a free mech. Boxcars. What did I find?
You know what, Brad? I could give you what a free mech is worth, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be like the Battletech video game. It's a 1-for-3 salvage of a cicada. If you have to pick it up.
I know this is probably more in the realms of your Battletech, but what about Battletech barn finds? You know.
All right, you can't touch it, but you can look at it. Bidding starts in 5 minutes.
It's like the show American Pickers. We're just going around looking through old people's
oh my god,
yeah.
what a Battletech episode that would be, to have the players all be influence vloggers looking at different battle mechs and appraising their value.
Does anybody watch?
We found a Star League pulse laser in this guy's barn. I don't think he knows what he has. I think I can get it from him for $5.
It's vintage. It's got no miles on it. It's great.
Superheated plasma and incredible speed.
Does anybody watch What They Do in the Shadows, the show, not the movie?
I did the first few seasons. Yeah.
I recently saw an episode where they do a parody of like the Property Brothers from like HGTV. It's fucking incredible. It was so funny. I was dying the whole time. They nailed it. Like, I don't know, just the absolute satire of that like style of show was just so spot on. We need that as a Battletech.
So,
I'm strongly considering it for Battletech.
The name of the fake show is Go Flip Yourself. It's fucking amazing.
I know we're getting Dangerous Coast intro out here, but I don't get to see Brad very much. Let me just quickly say that I've been watching What If with my wife, and she wasn't into it at all really until the Happy Hogan Saves Christmas episode when she was in stitches with all the Die Hard references.
That's awesome.
We've got goals on the table.
We got some goals.
You find yourselves in the same chamber we started the show in, episode 1. Baron Koji's official administrative throne room. He is seated upon the throne in the regalia of his station, full makeup. There is wisdom on his face and also fury. As he sits, you are in a U, his advisors. So on his left and right are the remaining 4 city advisors of the districts. The 3 of you are the bottom part of the U, seated directly across from him. Various administrators and low-ranking nobles, high-ranking civilian workers are on the sides of the room in case anyone needs anything, to take notes, that sort of deal. But everyone is dressed in a stark level of finery. This is not just wear your best. It is also in preparation for the funeral of a noble. Not necessarily like you're going to walk outside and bury her today, but it is not a time for frivolity or peacocking. The tea service, which has lasted for hours, is finally coming to an end so that the meeting can truly begin. So I'm going to check in with you real quick, Andrew, actually, before I go into the next part.
I was going to say, I think traditionally, like the mourning period is like around 49 days for someone in, like, if I'm remembering Japanese culture correctly.
That's
or
not
like
how Battletech culture works, so they do it pretty quick.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I wasn't sure if we were going more traditional with it or
No. We're
what the
doing
Kyeda
Battletech.
version of it was.
Okay.
Okay.
The Kyeda version is a reasonable amount of time, and then you have to bury them.
Gotcha. Right.
So I have 2 questions. How are you dressed, and how do you feel about this level of formality and circumstance? I mean, you're supposed to be here talking about these big issues on today, January the 4th of 3046, but instead you have endured a tea ceremony somewhat uncomfortably in this unseasonable weather inside of a stuffy room where everyone is watching everyone all the time.
So I have a question first. So I served actively in the DCMS.
Mm-hmm.
When my active service was done, would as a noble and a samurai, am I still technically part of the military?
Yes.
Excuse me. Okay. I think if that's the case, then
just to be clear, not as a noble, but as a samurai, yes.
Okay. I think I would still be wearing, for any kind of like a official meeting like this, I think I would show up in my military uniform then.
That's very reasonable.
In my like whatever the equivalent of like their dress blues or dress uniform is. What was the second question you asked me? Oh, how I felt about
how you feel
about being in the tea ceremony.
Yeah, I'm Spocking you right now. I'm Spock's mom, and I ask you, how do you feel?
I think he's antsy. I think that's where Siegfried's at right now. We're in this tea ceremony, and I'm sure it's posturing and it's tradition and whatever. But I think after Matsuri's death, and knowing that we're going to face some kind of repercussions for fighting on fighting and killing another noble on Chancellor's Day or whatever. Like,
That's not known yet.
okay,
The public story.
Yeah, is that he came to us, and then there was like we're all there together, and he worked with us to defend the house, and he was killed in the betrayal by Lark.
Alouette, yeah. And ironically, the only person there who wasn't cool with that situation was Matsuri, who is now dead and can tell no one.
But I think all things considered, I think he's kind of antsy and ready for like ready to get to work, so to speak.
All right, let's keep going around the circle and telling everyone how our fictional characters feel and dress.
I think for me, for Hiro, where he does typically do things in military dress, but I think that something like a funeral is more likely to go for something traditional. Like so, the traditional robe, and if Henya is there with him, like she would dress in white as such for associated with a funeral. And I think also for Hiro, because these sorts of things like tea ceremonies, funerals, they're predictable when you're following a tradition as such. That like it's actually quite comfortable when the situation is predictable and understandable. So obviously he still experiences the loss of Matsuri, but he's comfortable, I would say, under the circumstances with the situation.
Well, Rad, in the words of Anthony Birch, well.
Listen, I was Googling traditional Japanese funeral attire, and I did encounter some very unfortunate pictures, one of which I will share on our Discord here for a moment. I just want to say that she's not dressed like that.
This is why you turn safe search on.
Oh, God. Okay.
White
yeah. Let's never talk about this.
Yeah. Sorry, Internet. It's not for you. I mean, it is.
Did you just Uncle Roger us? Sorry, children.
We'll get asked questions about 11 months from now on Facebook. on YouTube as to what it was about.
Look, just Google traditional Japanese funeral attire, and you too could be a part of the collective internet shame. I don't know. She's probably wearing also very traditional family color, or maybe not family colors. I think she's usually in a very fashionable sort of like neo-traditional modern attire, but I think all of that is out the window for this particular circumstance. So I think she's in like kind of a very classic like morning kimono with maybe like a thick braided red rope over her shoulders. She probably has like really dark bags under her eyes. Does not look like she's slept 1,000-yard stare. She seems very non-present for any of this. I don't think she's particularly like she's immaculately made up. Like her hair is all perfect and everything, but it's also kind of apparent maybe to the more savvy observer that that's just people did that for her. She's obviously not in a state where she's taking very good care of herself, which is apparent probably how tired and distant she looks. But she's there, she's present, she's doing all of the things that are supposed to be done, but her mind and her heart are 1,000 miles away.
The scent of pu'er tea has centered and calmed those upon whom such traditional imbibements would work. At the right hand of the Baron, Lord Cho, Clan Sung, is seated, not a samurai, in sort of, I don't want to say buffoonish. It might appear so to some, but he very much looks like a character out of Mulan. I don't want to say he looks like the advisor to the army, who's basically the bad guy the whole time. The guy wearing the green robes who falls. But he has that sort, like a less villainous, less comedic version of that, would be where he's at, because as perhaps we've come to realize, Lord Cho is sort of the executive hand of the Baron. And so seated on his right, wearing administrative and sort of sagacious robes. He's noticed everything that's going on in the room, and he, on top of wearing the robes, he wears the formality of this situation well. The rigid traditionality of it, at the weight of ceremony, seems to agree with him. And I think he definitely notices, above all else, Siegfried kind of not taking this the best, and the fidgeting and that sort of thing. Lady Iwasaki is present. She, too, not a samurai. As simple as one could get away with, in all white kimono, sort of formal, with very little of the flowers that would be embroidered in her normal clothing. This killing took place on her territory, so she has taken this as a personal slight against her honor. That this should have happened to her has left her gravely ashamed. And you can see in her face that she is enduring this situation, because everything that happens here will simply be amplifying her shame that Matsuri was killed on what was essentially her watch. I think that probably she shares a lot of presence with Akari in just enduring the moment. It's not that she's not present, but she is not fully here either. And also of note is the samurai Red Hime, who is here. She is wearing neither kimono nor military uniform. She is wearing essentially the least bulky and intrusive parts of formal samurai armor. No helmet, kabuto, no like elaborate shoulder boards, but the main sort of male armor and gauntlets, the skirt, are present. It is not taken well by others in the chamber, especially those who are along the sides of the chamber. The civilian workers and the sort of low-ranking nobles have stolen glances over towards her that are less than charitable. And Lord Yasuke of Clan Sakamoto is not present, but he has sent a family member in his stead to attend in the position at the table. Baron Koji does not rise as he says, and let us begin. I think we are all aware of the issue that is before us. Two events that demand our attention. That Alouette Takeda has stolen the sword of Takeda and fled from this planet after a dishonorable attempt to kill the members of House Kyeda, stopped by his own master, and also the Yakuza killing of Lady Matsuri. Both of these events demand our attention. I am willing to hear arguments and suggestions for the course of action, but know that solutions must be present before we leave here.
Is there a based on rank, like an order in which people would come forward in this?
There is, but no one's really stepping forward. This is really a very delicate situation.
I think if no one's stepping forward, I think Siegfried chimes in that he wants to, or I think, let me do this in character. What I call him, would I refer to him as my lord or
Baron or my lord is fine.
Okay. My lord, I wish to be given purview to lead an investigation into Matsuri's death and find her killer.
An investigation. We know who has done this. Do we not?
I believe we know it was a Yakuza attack, but I don't believe we know the individual.
Does the hand that pulled the trigger matter any less than the body?
Shoot, I don't really have a good response to that one.
Do we know like what Yakuza clan did it?
No. Okay. What you I think because of your personal connection, what you do know is that the Shinsen are basically all scratching their heads and also preparing to get fucked. Like they're like, this is bad. Reprisals are coming and it's gonna be on us.
Out of character, it was them though, right? Wasn't it?
No, it was the Inuyama Gumi.
It was the guys that
It was the dogs. Yeah.
Dogs, yeah,
From
the
another
dog guys.
city. It's the people who
that
tried
Siegfried
to...
spurred, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But under my recommendation. Yeah.
Yes. But that's not known to anybody.
So what is this other faction you just said? Are
The
those...
Shinsen, that's your family's.
That's our people.
Personal,
Okay.
Yeah. But just to be clear, the Baron is implying that the hand that pulled the trigger, aka
Right.
one Yakuza, it doesn't matter to him who is picked up, that the whole Yakuza should suffer as a result of this. Like,
Right.
you know, this is not something a Yakuza member would just randomly do. If the Shinsen did this, and so, like, if a rogue member did this, that rogue member would have been dealt with in-house and, like, delivered half dead to a police station.
Right. So
Since
then
that hasn't happened, he's assuming that this was intentional
Was
by
sanctioned.
local Yakuza. And look, guys, I'm working really hard here to be like, ooh, I'm saying one thing and there's a whole depth of behind that. I'm like, yes, does the hand matter to the butt? That's really hard for me because I'm super literal.
I'm just trying to
here.
I'm trying to parse out so my family, the Shinsen family that I'm related to, that also met
Gumi. Yes.
Shinsen Gumi, that also Matsuri is related to, right? Like,
Yes.
how many days? How long's it been since she was killed?
I think probably only a day or two.
Okay, so I feel like I would know, having met with my family, that this is not, my family is not involved in this to their knowledge, right?
Correct.
Like the Shinsen Gumi is not. What
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So,
I think had
like you
it was
said,
on, like New Year's Eve or New Year's Day is when she was murdered.
Yeah.
And then you established a few minutes ago that it's the 4th.
January 4th.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's
So-
been like 2 or 3 days.
so it's lost my train of thought a bit. So like you said, if a rogue person within the Shinsengumi had done this, they would be killing essentially one of their own, more or less, right? Even not unofficially, officially, sort of. And it would be handled internally and then made public on like the stairs of the police station. What's the opposite of that, right? Like, how does the Shinsengumi make the public statement of this wasn't us?
See, that's the problem. They really can't do that, right? Officially, the Yakuza are an outlawed criminal organization. They
Right.
have no formal... You are probably their only hope at explaining this away without back channels. Almost certainly they're trying to use other back channels. But based on what you just heard from the Baron, it seems like rage against criminals is more prevalent in his mind, with literally no one has advised him anything other than, hey, let's stamp down on this. This is a problem.
Now,
So
I was going to say, I don't think my relationship with Matsuri led me to know that she was involved with the Yakuza at any point. Did it? Or did we make rolls for that and I was just blatantly
yeah, you failed on those rolls, but I feel like it's not unknown that she was a member of the Dekigoro Zoku gangs, the like rich kid gangs. And yeah, I think you probably have to make a roll for it, but those gangs are essentially used as a shield by the Yakuza, right? Like it's beneath unless somebody resists, like what's it called when you go to businesses? It's called a shakedown. When you're racketeering businesses, like you send guys in to go get the payments.
Protection.
Protection. Yeah, like it's beneath the Yakuza to force somebody to pay protection money. They would send street criminals or like the rich kids to do it first, as you know, they'd pay them to perform minor criminal bad stuff so the police don't get on them. And then if you don't pay or if you mess with those guys, then the Yakuza are like, oh, great, we're going to break your legs now.
So
it's known that there's a relationship between those two groups. They have a symbiotic relationship.
So do the public officials here in this forum, do they believe that it's the Shinsengumi? Like, is that the general vibe? Or does their silence kind of say otherwise, right? Like
that discussion has not come up yet. Okay. Based on what you've heard from the Baron, he has not been informed of, you know, like, in the same way you don't know it's not the Shinsengumi beyond the Shinsengumi telling you. Like, no one actually knows who killed Matsuri beyond the fact that it was a tattooed guy who very clearly killed a bunch of other civilians. So all they know is a Yakuza. They don't know the affiliation. Making them care about that is someone is
the challenge,
probably yours.
Yeah. Right.
So I think because we've had like a 3-day, like roughly like a 3 or 4 day gap here, I think that if you in that like 3 or 4 day gap, if your character had been able to figure out that at least it wasn't your guys and that it was somehow affiliated with a rival gang, you got like a 4-day window to convince or inform Siegfried of that before he just wants to murder all Yakuza.
Are we flashbacking?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely what she would do, right? Like when it's revealed that, hey, this was a Yakuza related crime, I think that's the first thing she does is turn over every stone she absolutely can within her own organizations to determine that it was not the Shinsengumi at all. And then she would go and, you know, tell that to Siegfried.
Let's have that conversation.
Because I feel like it's not a big leap to go, all right, it wasn't us. Right. What other Yakuza are around that we've made enemies of? Like, it's not hard, I feel like, even in character to draw the conclusion that there's only been one other Yakuza entity that we've made an enemy of recently, right? Like,
sure.
It seems like it would be a reasonable suspicion.
Be interested to know whether or not that conversation also reveals to Siegfried that she was part of the Yakuza.
I was going to say, yeah, because Siegfried still doesn't know that he doesn't even know that you're Yakuza yet.
Right. Well, I'm not technically, right? Like
her mother is.
My mom is. And Matsuri wasn't technically either. She wanted to be, right? Like she was really in the same. As far as my family was concerned, she's the same status as me. They wanted her to go to legit just as much as they want me to be legit as well.
Right.
So not like, you know, official. So yeah, is that fair to say, Arthur, that I've, you know, do I need to make a role in investigating my own internal family organization?
I feel like they are throwing themselves at solutions to this problem. You know what I mean? Right. You're asking them, they're investigating themselves, and they find they did nothing wrong. And it would be, I don't want to say it'd be beneath, it would be unusual for them to lean on their relationship with you to get you to do something for them directly, right? That would imply a level of criminality in your activities to ask you to do something. Instead, it is staged as conversations like, I hope someone does something about this, or it would be best for the family if it didn't come to say, yeah, I mean, we've all seen a mafia movie before.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These
I
guys
think
know that their relationship with you is a risk to you, and they can't outrightly ask you to do anything for them.
I think that's very savvy and tactical of them, but it definitely
makes things
is
harder
in
for
sharp
you.
contrast. It's in sharp contrast to what my character is doing. She's asking very direct questions, right? Like she's in there doing the exact opposite.
They have no direct answers for you.
Yeah, and they're trying to not incriminate her, but she's absolutely asking all of the questions that would incriminate her if they would just give her a straight answer. So that it does take like 3 days for her to finally be like confident that everything has been done internally that can possibly be done.
You're slamming your fists on the table. Who does number 2 work for?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And maybe there's even some relationship consequences to that are yet to be.
Oh, don't worry.
Seen.
You've got other relationship consequences to worry about.
I'm sure. So, so I'll go to Siegfried.
On his houseboat?
Yeah, at his home. Just be like, and lay it all out.
Your houseboats.
There are certain things you should know as we proceed. I think we're, I don't want to speak for you, but I can tell you that my primary focus moving forward will be to identify those responsible and remove them from the material world permanently and with prejudice. That being said, you should know that Matsuri and I both have familiar ties to this city's criminal element. And I don't think that should come as a total shock to you, because I feel like I've mentioned that I have connections and resources that go beyond and underneath the normal chains of information and command in the city. And, I am my family's one great hope to leave that world behind and move into a more legitimate existence. And I intend to do just that. But I have used those resources and I have shaken those trees. And I can tell you with certainty that my family's organization had nothing to do with her death. And I already have suspicions as to what organization did. And I want to know if you are with me in this pursuit.
I think Siegfried is like in the middle of making like funeral arrangements for Matsuri. And I think while you're like telling him this, he's kind of like distantly staring off at like the papers and everything that he's been working on. But I think when you mention like you want to bring whoever did this to justice, I think that's like the first time he like looks up at you. And you can see like he's holding back, like just like his eyes are all just watery. He's just trying his hardest not to cry. And he says, nothing would satisfy me more than finding whoever did this and making them pay.
Good.
You and Hiro are my most trusted allies on this planet, and I won't. With Matsuri's death, I feel like you two are the only ones I can rely on right now. While I seek out whoever did this.
I agree, and I want there to be no misunderstandings or half truths between us. You need to know that my mother is in a directly controlling position of the city's primary criminal element. And it is through that resource that I have learned that it is not her organization that is responsible for this. And she has every motivation to tell me the truth and no motivation to lie to me whatsoever, as Matsuri is her blood relative as well. And while it is not their wish, to want to be involved in this because it implicates me in ways that work against the family's goals. Know that personally, there is no resource I will not expend to find those responsible and make them pay.
You can let your family know that I do not intend to work with the Yakuza, or I don't know if he'd say Yakuza out loud, but I do not intend to work with criminal elements directly, very often. But anything they find in this matter, I'm more than willing to receive and potentially reciprocate in anything that helps resolve this issue.
I will let them know, but rest assured, that is not a connection I want to make between you and members of my family, unless it's an absolute last resort. I have no intention of putting you in a compromising position. I don't think allies do that to one another.
I appreciate that. I think you might have a more clear head than I do right now.
It's a razor's edge I've walked my entire life, and it's never failed to cut my feet on a daily basis. So it's not easy or pleasant. It's not a position that I relish. It's just one that I'm born into. And Matsuri was born into it as well. And I grew up, and we grew up together, seeing a lot of each other in one another. And I think at this point she just kind of breaks down. She can't really finish her thought. She's seeing how not together you are. I think her facade finally cracks, and she just gets watery eyed and kind of ends with a nod, and then just turns to leave.
I think before you leave, Siegfried offers you like a hug. Like, do you just need to hug it out?
Yeah, she'll take it. Okay. She'll take a hug.
He needs to hug it out.
Probably fall apart a little bit. Yeah, a little mutual emotional distress there, and then almost embarrassed of the hug, she'll eventually break and leave.
It's okay. I think after that meeting later that day, you would have received a text from or like a message from Siegfried saying like, "Hey, we know we have this thing coming up with the Baron. Let's come up with a plan on how we how do we want to address this." Mm-hmm. And then we flash back to the present.
Yeah. So I think right at this moment, Siegfried is maybe struggling to respond a little bit to this question that he's asked about, the hand and who's responsible, and she'll speak up and say, "With your permission, Lord, I would like to be responsible for helping Lord Siegfried in determining just that, not just the hand, but the entire organization that's responsible for the violence, the unchecked violence in these streets and the death of my cousin. And you have given your permission, you have my promise, my vow that no stone will be unturned in bringing those responsible to their knees before you in this very chamber." I seek your permission in waging war against those who would disrespect our city and my family so publicly and violently in our own homes.
Lady Iwasaki of Clan Sakura, seated at the Baron's left, is not looking at you. She's looking at the Baron as she makes a little scoff and says to him, "My lord, we know who is responsible for these things, and we are aware who would put a veil over our eyes in regards to this. I have heard the phrase that you must set a thief to capture a thief. but I do not believe that is so. I would not ask the person robbing my house to find the robber.
I feel like out of character. I feel like this is such blatant public vocal disrespect.
Yes, it is.
Like, I would. What? What
How
would
would
be
you
an
do it?
appropriate recourse here? Like, there's no way I would just allow this woman to sit there and badmouth me. Is she of some public standing greater than my own?
No,
Like,
she's not. But she is on this council and has been for many years. I think that the standing that she has is as a older person who has served here for some time. But this is a pretty bold move to call a samurai out, especially one who's just pledged to find justice.
I don't know what the words
she's all
are.
but called you a yakuza.
I don't know what the words are, but I absolutely would cut her off and call her out on this.
Okay.
Here I sit, established as the sword of the Baron himself, committed and sworn to do justice in this city, and you would sit there and call me thief? You forget yourself. My purpose is given to me and my fellows by the man who sits next to you, and you have no say and you have no opinion that invites any sort of interest or validity to me and my fellow Blades of Honor. We take our title and responsibility seriously. A member of my family has been killed, and you would dare to take the opportunity as a political leveraging move to disrespect and badmouth me to this council? How dare you?
I want to roll some dice.
I was gonna say, we've established that I married Matsuri after I found out she was pregnant, right?
I think that was true.
Okay.
I'll just use my boxcars from earlier.
But before you challenge her, do you want to know what mech she's got? Just to so
Not a samurai. I feel like I was really clear
I was gonna
about
say,
her
can
not
I-
being a
can I,
samurai.
like-
No, I'll kill her right here in this chamber.
Can I back Akari up by like looking this lady in the eyes and telling her, like, would you deny me the opportunity to avenge my wife's murder?
I feel like the thing is that she's not looking at any of you during this. She's only looking at the Baron.
But she said it loud enough for us to all hear, right?
Yes, but I feel like while she can...
I would call her out on that, too.
Yeah, I feel like she can feel House Arnsson's fury, but she does not turn to acknowledge it.
I'm staring daggers at her.
Yeah, that, at the very least, is being noted by everyone else but her.
Look at me, you coward. No, just don't say that.
Yeah.
I would like a roll here.
What would you like?
I think persuasion is certainly on the table. Okay. I would even accept persuasion with strength instead of charisma, if that would work for you.
It's the same. It's a +1 either way for me. Oh, wait a minute. I have some skill points to spend here. Let's Oath of Endosteel this thing real quick.
Goes. This son of a bitch.
How much does it cost to go up to a +2? How many points does that take?
So the question is, how many skill points do you currently have in persuasion?
So I went from 0 to 1. So I have 1.
Okay, so you can go from 1 to 2.
Wait, actually, I think I have. So my modifier is a +1 in persuasion.
Okay.
So that means I've gone from 0 to 1 to 2 already. Does that make sense?
So you mean you have 2 skill points in it, because it would be -1, 0, 1. Okay. So you can't level it again until you reach level 3. You're already at the highest you can be.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so I'll just take my +1 into this then.
She is rolling a +1 as well. I'm going to give you an additional +1 because you're being backed by your bro. You're going to need it. I got an 8 total.
4, 5, 6. I will use my expert ability to reroll within the hour.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you technically have an 8 there, but yeah.
Oh, did I tied her though, right?
Yeah, tying is not good though. Right.
Right.
Re-rolling isn't bad. Failing would be worse though.
There we go.
Success.
I've beat her handily.
That's what you had a +2, so that's an 11.
Yes.
Yeah. So look, this roll is not about convincing her of anything.
No, it's about making the Baron feel like I'm right and she's wrong.
Yes.
It's not even just about him. It's about the whole room, because
Okay.
as we've established, he is a leader who does not make moves himself directly very often. He waits until he gets the advice that he wants, and that gives him a shield that if that advice doesn't work out, he can say, I got bad advisors. Right. In that very same way, she will turn towards you and give you the slightest bow and say, I apologize. I did not call you a thief, Lady Genji. If my words were misinterpreted, then they were chosen poorly.
Your words were chosen carefully, and the implications were clear. And I will tolerate no more of them in my presence. I want.
She has been wrecked, just to be clear.
Okay, yeah.
She will never admit. Just to be clear, she would never admit to insulting you.
Of course, yeah.
But it's clear that her bullshit is no longer going to be tolerated here.
Her response says, I lost, you win. And then this final comment is to rub her nose in it a little bit, right? Because Akari can't help herself at this point. She just, it's important to her to establish, this isn't what she's thinking about right now. Right now, she's just mad. I don't know what my other is screaming about. Right now, she's just mad. But to me, as a player, I want to establish her as kind of like a, I don't take shit, no nonsense sort of figure politically.
Right. And that sort of direct behavior is something that isn't seen in this chamber very much.
Right. Like, it's very clear, like, you talk shit about me, but it better not be to my face or I'll cut your fucking head off, right? Like, I won't allow it. So with that, she'll quiet and wait for the Baron to say something. I feel like I've said my piece.
The Baron stops, looking at this scene, gauging everyone's reaction, turns to a bowl of sand and lights an incense stick from another one, and then places it in the bowl, and then turns back to everyone, having bought some time, and says, what is your suggestion then, Lady Akari? What is your plan of action for how to resolve this problem?
As the councilwoman so tactfully pointed out, it's no secret my familial associations. And in this regard, in this case, it has always been my intent to lead my family in the most honorable service that I possibly can to you in this city. Given the resources I have at hand and the cooperations of my fellow lords, I have no doubt that through an in-depth investigation, Lord Siegfried and I will determine who is responsible collectively and bring them to justice. It will require the assistance and cooperation of everyone here in this room to do so. And it would be my expectation that they will provide it freely and generously.
This is not the only problem that sits upon my table. I cannot
in
any way promise you that everyone here can cooperate.
I understand. And I will abide by whatever guidance and determination you make here today. But officially or unofficially, I will be taking action in uncovering those responsible. It would be disingenuous for me to say otherwise.
So this whole line of things that you've been saying has increasingly caused jaws to drop along the sides of the room. And I think maybe the first sign that you could be in a little bit of trouble is when Lord Cho even shuffles slightly beside the Baron. I mean, you've basically, not totally, but basically admitted to having Yakuza connections, which, while many people could claim that, no one could prove it in any honorable way. And you've also said that no matter what happens, you're going to pursue this, even perhaps if you were ordered to do something else.
Yeah, more or less. I'd say that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
So this is a very direct showing.
Yeah, it gets away from her, I think. Like, emotionally, she's a million miles away, and then this lady reprimands her, and then now she's fully present and she's mad. And I feel like Akari's anger is a cold one. It's not, it doesn't I don't know, it doesn't catch on fire, it doesn't rage, it just burns. And I think she probably doesn't make the best political decisions here, but I don't think that's really what she's considering or thinking about. I think she's super upset, and she's like, hey, please help me. This is what I want to do. I'll do whatever you say, but I also won't if you don't tell me what I want you to tell me. And I think the stuff with like revealing her family, again, I don't think that was anything anybody here at this room didn't already know.
Right. But
and I think it's like, it's definitely, yeah, it's audacious for her to like proclaim it, right? But like at this point, she doesn't care.
This is one of those things that comes back to bite you down the ass later down the line.
Absolutely.
I think the Baron is going to wait and see if anyone else has anything to add. I'm specifically looking to James here. If there's anything he wanted to get in.
So in terms of this topic, I think once again, the only things I would say I wouldn't say in an official forum. I certainly have things to say on the other topic, but I don't get the impression that the conversation, like unless we're moving towards the point where they're saying, well, okay, is there anything else to add in general? I'll bring up something on the other topic, but I've got nothing to add on this topic.
Yeah, I think then we should respect that there is a breaking silence. Not necessarily an uncomfortable one, but like several seconds of everyone in the chamber coming to the conclusion that since the Baron has nothing else to add here and hasn't explicitly forbidden this action, he is at least tacitly approving it. Which means that it is time to bring up any other business if you wanted to do
approval with plausible deniability at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shugo-sama, regarding the other matter of House Takeda, I feel especially connected with this both because the tragedy happened in my own home and also because I am engaged to a member of their household. I feel that honor compels me to take some action to help restore the rightful property of House Takeda. I don't have a lot of resources, but the resources I do have, I would like permission to commit towards tracking down their rogue scion, and at a minimum returning their family sword to the Takeda family so that it can continue to grow as it always has in this world with its honor intact.
I have been informed as to where the sword has fled to. Captains have been made to talk. I would not have my blades split on this, nor would I deny you, either of you, familial vengeance. I proffer this then.
Sorry?
I will give you 3 days until the funeral to hunt down and solve the problem of these Yakuza in the manner that you speak. And if justice is not executed to my satisfaction, another plan will take place. And at that time, I will release the Blades of Honor to the planet of Kincaid 2, where Alouette Takeda is currently fleeing. I will send you with a jump ship and your battle mechs.
I'll look to the others to see if they're on board with this.
Yeah, I think I bow and thank the Baron.
Yeah, so with one statement, he really wraps everything up. He set the date for the funeral, set the date for the investigation, set the you say you don't have any resources, he's sending you with, 50,000 pop a jump for 3 of you there and back on 3 jumps. It's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
After, again, a slight period of silence so that everyone understands the gravity of everything that just happened here, he nods and essentially dismisses everyone, but he does say, "You will remain, Lady Akari Genji."
I do so.
I think as everyone's leaving, and he says that, Siegfried makes eye contact with Akari, and then he'll leave the room, but he'll wait outside for
I think that's something I was thinking.
Significant PC glance.
Didn't want the blades being split. Immediately splits the blades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
He sips from tea and without looking at you, addresses you and says, "Loyalty to one's family is very important. Do you not agree?"
I do.
I find that in the younger generations, they do not always understand the concept of filial piety. That one must serve their parents and the older generations. And they are prone to disharmonious activity. Your father served me for many years, decades. And for me to hear that Isoroku Genji, one of my samurai, has been so shamed that his wife should be running around with other men and that he should be driven from the house that he personally built to live on a boat, casts shame upon your concept of filial piety. I will not have such grave dishonor in a house, in a clan that answers directly to me.
You would have me arbitrate my own parents' relationship?
Are you the leader of Clan Genji, or are you not?
I am. But I can no more command the heart of my mother and father than I can the migration of the birds.
I would see your father treated with respect, and I would not be made aware of problems within your house.
I understand. The subtext is, I don't care about any of this.
Right, but this is important for him.
Yeah, she doesn't care though. But
yes,
yeah, I got that he thinks it's important. Yeah.
Yeah, he thinks it's important because
he doesn't like my mom and he likes my dad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
100%.
also, it's a core tenet of traditional samurai values and traditional Japanese society: respect for one's parents.
Right.
It's basic
Specifically one's
Confucianism.
father.
Yeah. But yeah, he likes your dad a lot more than he likes your mom.
Right.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
why wouldn't he? Of course. Yeah.
I mean, your dad was basically the Draconis Combine version of his knight for many years. And, now he's been cast off to live in a houseboat. And your mom is running around dating other men while they're still married, technically. It's
Right.
not good look. And while none of it's your fault, I mean, sending your dad away, definitely your fault. You're responsible for what happens to your clan. And yet you are in a dilemma where he tells you that you have to be respectful of your elders, and yet you must also solve this problem your elders are making. Yep.
By telling them what to do. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. By commanding them.
Welcome to the problems of filial piety.
Yeah.
I'm here to offer problems, not solutions, Red.
Am I here to draw the connection that my dad has complained to him about the situation?
No.
Okay.
I think you would see... I would note that he said that news from your mother got back to him, not that news from your father got to him. I think based on what you know about your dad, again, this is, you know more about your dad than we say on screen because, of course, you've lived with him your entire life. Your dad would never complain to the Baron about this. Someone else has made him aware of this on his behalf. Probably against his wishes. Your dad willingly left when you told him to go. That
was my impression, is that this was, maybe not amicable, but at least I don't know, 60-40, right? He was like, yeah, I don't really want anything to do with your mom anyway. I was like, all right, well, don't split the house in half because that's a bad situation. So
he left.
Let me I'll just set you up somewhere else comfortable. Okay. Baron doesn't like that.
Matsuri told him and got her killed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What
the Baron had her killed. Yeah.
The Matsuri was the snitch the whole time. It's definitely not the conspiracy theory I was thinking was going to happen this episode. That's all he has for you. It's not like he formally dismisses you or anything. He just sips some tea and waits for you to leave.
Yeah, I leave. Okay. I'm surprised that it didn't have anything to do with my outburst. He doesn't seem particularly pulsed at that, so that's fine.
Yeah, when he's talking about respect for elders, I thought he was talking about the lady that you chastised.
But that's the thing is, while she is older than you and has served him for a long time, you smacked her down and proved her wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, you've basically staked your entire house on successfully completing this investigation. You've tied yourself to the Yakuza and have basically created a firewall that says, I'll find the real killer. It's not them. So you need to bring back definitive proof within 3 days. Perfect. The two of you see a Akari Genji leave who is perhaps even more troubled than when she went in.
Everything all right with Baron?
Everything's fine with the Baron. My parents are just causing me problems. It's not high on my to-do list, to be totally honest with you. We have a very limited amount of time to accomplish a very large task, so nothing that needs our collaborative attention. Just a disenfranchised mother and father. Unrelated.
So where do we start? We've got 3 days.
Still alive.
Yikes.
Isn't there a Yakuza unit at the local police precinct? Maybe we should start there and see what they have.
I I mean, are the police? I mean, I assume the police are actually investigating her death as well.
Yeah, so this is a Draconis Combine. I need to be really clear here, is that the Draconis Combine is said to have one of the best track records for, like, solving crimes. And that's mostly because they find someone they think is guilty and then beat the shit out of them until they confess.
Yeah, high conviction rate, exactly.
Yeah. Kind of like real Japan right now. Yeah. That's real. Look it up. Yeah, so I mean, look. Unit 731, which is, I believe, I might have gotten that number wrong. But you know the unit exists, and you know the guy who runs it. You also know that he's the only member of that particular unit, and things might be accelerating past his ability to deal with them. You know what I mean? Like, you haven't been there yet, someone might override him, but it is technically his investigation until that happens.
Who is that? That's Detective Powers, right?
Yes.
All right.
Well, also, I'm just going to ask this: aren't most of the cops on, like, the Yakuza payroll?
Sorry, it's Unit 893, and you do know that there are some police officers who are on the Yakuza payroll, which is specifically why his unit was formed, to be partitioned away from the rest, and his name is Detective Hirohito, aka Hiro. Powers is the name of the Yakuza from... Chadwick Powers is the name of the Yakuza from the Inuyama Hospitality Group, which is a front for the Inuyama Yakuza.
Shoot, do we still have that contract the guy gave me?
Sure. It's got a phone number for the Inuyama Hospitality Group on it. It's his personal phone number, I believe, for Chadwick Powers.
Okay. So I'll tell them, I have suspicions that this is the organization responsible. They're the only ones we've made an enemy out of recently, and they have the greatest motivation and resource in order to commit this crime. I think that's the first thread we pull on. If you two, if you want to deal with Detective Hiro at the precinct, we can. It would not be my first choice, but he may have resources or information, or have already begun an investigation that could have information that would be useful, she says reluctantly.
I think Siegfried just suggests, like, taking the information we have, like the phone number, the address on the contract, whatever, attaching a letter saying, like, hey, we think this is, like, I'm Siegfried, of House Arnsson. Matsuri and I got married. I think she was murdered because I didn't accept this business contract. This is a copy. I think these are the leads that I have so far. And just letting that show up at the police precinct in, like, a box or, like, via courier. So that someone from the police side of things can begin investigating. Because I know we don't like him, but I want someone from that side to start putting pressure. And then I think if it gets back to maybe even the cops that are on your payroll, that it's these guys, that they might be more willing to lend assistance instead of just ignoring this guy and giving him, like, a wide berth.
Yeah, my concern is we don't have any control over what Detective Hiro is going to do with this information. And we also don't know if there aren't any Inuyama Yakuza on the police payroll. I'll be honest with you, my first inclination is to set up a meeting with Chadwick Powers, apprehend him, and interrogate him. But if he is any kind of criminal worth his salt, he won't willingly give up any incriminating information. But at this point, I would very much like to hurt somebody, and he's at the top of my list.
We're on the same page.
If you would like to give information, if you'd like to go down and talk to Detective Hiro, and provide him information and see what he has to reciprocate with, I think that's probably the best way to proceed. Is it needs to be a transaction of information, not just give him everything we got. Because if he gets to them first, I'm concerned they could slip through his fingers, and I'm more confident that they would not slip through ours. Our own hands are the safest, so to speak.
I'm happy to go and talk to him.
I have no issue with that.
Yeah. That sounds like a good first step.
Okay. Are we cutting to the police precinct?
Sure.
Yes.
We cut to you going through a very busy police precinct full of people trying to look busy. Someone of your station moving through the police precinct during such a time where a noble woman has been murdered. Of course, there's always shenanigans around the holidays. It's very busy here all of a sudden, out of nowhere, since you've entered into this.
Yeah. It's a classic 80s police station where like someone just leaves a phone ringing all the time so that it always sounds busy.
Ah, yes, of course. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think since it's Siegfried's wife who was murdered, I think as a way of showing support for the police, he like shows up. I was gonna say with donuts, but it's all Japanese themed, so maybe it's like red bean buns for the precinct.
Okay.
And like coffees and stuff.
The two of you are shown to Unit 893. The door is locked, and the person who brings you there cannot unlock it. He just knocks on the door and leaves you in the hallway very politely. Well, the door is opened sometimes later by our Scott Can-looking motherfucker, the short, very powerfully built Detective Sergeant Hiro, who has a cigarette half hanging out of his mouth. He is alone in here in a dimly lit room that is increasingly filled with pictures of Akari Genji, red tape on all of these files that he's pulled, red string on the walls showing connections between Yakuza groups. You immediately notice a picture of Chadwick Powers on a separate across the room board from Akari's, like complete opposite sides, with a number of other individuals. He sees the two of you, and then he like basically goes over and starts flipping boards over so you can't see what's on them. And he says, "I think I recognize the two of you. Lord Kyeda, Lord Arnsson. I'm afraid I don't have anything but tea to offer you, my lords."
No, I brought donuts.
Can we come in and have a short conversation regarding the death of Matsuri? What's her name?
Genji
Matsuri.
Yeah, sit down. Take a load off. He collapses into a chair as respectfully as possible.
Yeah.
He does not look well. He looks like a man who has not slept very well and is having blood pressure problems.
You may not have heard, Detective, that Baron has tasked our group with investigating Matsuri's death. Lord Arnsson here is, of course, her late husband. We understand that as this is related to organized crime, that this would fall under the purview of your unit as well.
My unit was formed with a very specific target in mind. This case may fall under my purview, yes.
I mean, I indicate towards one of the flip boards that had some of the stuff about this already, like, you know, the one with what's his name on it? The
Chadwick
Chadwick.
Powers.
Detective, I was hoping that we could collaborate on this. We both want to see Matsuri's killers brought to justice. We both have different levers to pull, and we can both get access to different information. I thought that by collaborating, we could see this to its proper conclusion.
He stares at you, and this is not the comfortable silence of the administrative hall. This is the I'm waiting for you to say what's next stare. And finally, he'll break his own silence and say, are you ordering me to do something?
No, not at all. I'm asking
do you
if
have
you'll work with
anything
us.
relevant to the case?
Well, it sounds like we're already looking at similar people in the form of Chadwick.
All right. He crosses his arms and he leans back and the chair creaks. You know what I'm talking about. We've all used an office chair before that's slightly too old.
Yep.
And he says, Mr. Powers and his file have crossed my desk for a unrelated case.
Well,
Do you have some reason to believe that he's been connected to these murders?
we have reason to believe he's the people that are involved. So we have removed certain suspects that you may not yet have removed from your list for various reasons, and we've narrowed our list down. And he is a connection to those that we still have focus on.
And who are these suspects you think you have evidence to remove?
Well, you've obviously got a hard-on for our associate, Akari Genji. I can
And
tell
you
you now
have
she wasn't.
definitive proof that she wasn't involved.
I have all the proof that we need. Once again, we're not police officers. We are acting on behalf of the Baron, and the Baron has accepted this fact as well.
Aren't they my alibi? Was I with them when that happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was with us when Akari got murdered.
I mean,
Not Akari,
it's
sorry.
great that your friends are all your alibis. That's- you know what I mean? Like, that's not going to convince this guy. But even if it
that's why I didn't
was,
pitch it.
that's not how organized crime works. Like, I don't think he suspects you personally killed Matsuri,
Right.
but you not being present there doesn't mean someone from the organization didn't do it.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of that shows on his face, and I don't know that he would ever talk about whether this was a internal hit or not. I think he doesn't even say no comment. He just waits for it to get uncomfortable again and says, I'm not at liberty to discuss my case with you. I work for the coordinator to pursue justice, even at the highest levels. You have evidence someone else was involved in this. You seem to have a raging hard-on for this Chadwick Powers individual. What do you know?
We're going on the fact that there are two core organizations involved here, the one that has been harmed and the one that we believe did the harming, in the form of the Shinsengumi is
The Shinsengumi is
one.
the locals.
Yeah. But the other side is, what were they called? The
Inuyamagumi.
The Inuyamagumi, we have a connection between Powers and them.
Wow. You've really locked it up there. I had no idea Chadwick Powers was a member of the Inuyamagumi.
Well, we're going to go and talk to him next. Something that you might struggle to do without something called probable cause.
All right, so now you finally got his attention. Mr. Powers is not in the city at the present. I believe you'll find him in Shibaka.
Okay, now we're working together.
Are we?
Well, insofar as we're helping each other out. So if we can get a meeting with him and our questions are not limited to what would be in your scope, is there anything that you want us to ask?
I would not presume to give orders to two upstanding samurai.
I'm not asking for orders. I'm asking for what would help your case.
He stands up, twirls the chair behind him in the process as he goes to look out a window. It's like one of those, like multiple glass pane windows, but they're all on one big movable like cast iron thing. So he opens it up so he can smoke and not like shit up the building. And he lights up as he's like leaning out, looking over the city streets from the second floor of the precinct. The chill January air sneaking in, and he goes, I'll tell you what, a guy like me needs to close a case like this. I need a guy. I need the organization that did this to turn over the guilty individual, and I need it to happen now. And the other thing I can say is that whoever has done this isn't answering my phone calls for reasons that might be obvious to you.
Can I just ask, Detective, and this is just a social question. There's no context to this. That your answer is more for my own edification. When you say you need a guy, do you saying that you want the guy that did this, or you just need a guy?
I would like you to make a perception check with wisdom.
Okay.
Dice rolls.
That's a 7, because it's plus 1, minus 1.
Okay. You look at him, just to be clear, a 7 is like bare minimum or even kind of partial successy level. You look at him and you see a face that, you've seen on television and read in stories 1,000 times. This guy is an honest cop in a world where results are the only thing that matters. And, if he has to, for his job, he'll grab a random Yakuza off the streets and just be like, it was this guy. And his superiors will go, okay. And then they'll beat that guy to death. And no one will look at it twice. And that doesn't work for him. He wants to find the people who are actually guilty. But he cannot not have results. He has to put somebody forward. And sooner is better. He wants the truth. But if he can't have it, he will settle for something adjacent to justice. And that will probably cause more problems if he just grabs a random Yakuza, because it's going to be somebody in Hangetsu Bay, and that means it's going to be a Shinsengumi member. So his jurisdiction is here in this city, and he doesn't have the sort of authority or travel power to chase down this lead. He's hoping other people will do it for him that aren't.
All right.
And so you're it. Like, he basically is he looks at you with a significant NPC glance that says all of that, and it's basically like, if I want the right person, you are it. You're my only shot, because otherwise I'm gonna cause some real serious problems here. His face shows you all of that. But there's more that you don't see because a 7 really, it's okay, it's good. It's not that good.
The Baron's given us 3 days to provide him with an answer. So whatever the case is, within 3 days, we, as in you and us, will have somebody. But if that isn't as deep as the rabbit hole goes, then we'll continue past that point. We will, we'll give the Baron what he needs right now, but we're not going to let this go. This is this man's wife we're talking about.
He takes his half-smoked cigarette and scrunches it out on the exterior bricks and closes the windows, and he says, yeah, my condolences about your loss. I think I can sell the chief on 3 days.
Siegfried, did you have anything else you wanted to say to the detective?
No, I think you handled everything. I appreciate your cooperation. Like air quotes on cooperation.
Hey,
do you mind, Siegfried? That's not good.
I'm doing everything I can here, okay?
No, I understand.
Do you mind, Siegfried, giving me a moment with the detective?
Yeah, not at all. And
I imagine some jazz sax kicks in here like ba-da-ba-ba.
I think as like Siegfried gets up and like is going to leave the room, he like goes to the board that had Power's face on it and like turns it slightly to like peek at it. And I just want to see if he can see anything before what's his face yells
there's
at him.
a shit ton of stuff here. It's basically the entire Inuyami so like it's their whole organization is, what do they call it? An org chart?
Yeah.
It's got the Godfather at the top and then the 4 officers.
I suspect that that the locals will probably have a similar thing and probably be more accurate than what the police have too.
Sure. I mean, there's definitely positions marked here. There are not a lot of faces. There are just either names or like,
Question mark. The money guy.
No, there's always going to be a name. But that name might be like the Shark or something, right? You don't know who the Shark is. You just know that the person called the Shark is a mid-level drug dealer. That's what's on the list.
I want to see if Chadwick Powers has like an affiliation, like a name or something. Like, is he like?
He does have a affiliation listed, and he is one of the officers of the group. Hold on. Someone say something funny.
Something.
I was going to say, if it helps to distract him from what Siegfried's doing, I was going to walk to the window and talk to him while looking out the window, So if he turns to follow me as I talk while looking out elsewhere, then that gives Siegfried a moment to sneak a peek.
I just found out from my wife that my 12-year-old son has over 500 hours in Tears of the Kingdom.
Ooh, that's impressive. I have about 50.
He's trying to 100% it. He's trying to do everything that can be done in the game.
I've literally only got the Master Sword and done basically nothing else in the game.
And like over the years, right, people have gifted him Nintendo money. And he now has like this huge hoard, this dragon's hoard of Nintendo money that he has not spent because he only plays this one game.
Here's the Kingdom.
And he refuses to buy any other games until he has 100%ed a Zelda game, which, as most of us know that's ever played a Zelda game, is like a lifelong pursuit. So I guess he's just never going to own another Nintendo game for the rest of his life.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
While we've been playing, I've managed to build one epic scale Kratos.
Nice.
Incredible.
Nice.
So the 4 officer positions are the number 2 man, the headquarters chief, the advisor, and the legal counselor. Basically, like the top lawyer. Chadwick Powers is the counselor of the Inuyami Gumi. He is a top lawyer.
Consigliere.
He's their top legal expert. He's not the only lawyer they have, but he's the lawyer that they have that's a member of the gang. He's not like from Hardwicke Brothers or whoever those two guys were earlier, going and winning and
Oh,
yeah,
push and win.
push and win. Yeah, they would hire Push and Win to represent them, but
Right.
they would work for Mr. Powers.
That's right. Robert Duvall was the consigliere in Godfather. Yeah, he's the.
So is he in like the top 5? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
He out of the top 5, he's number 5. You know, there is, you know, the father figure, the Oyabun, and then there's the 4 officers, and he's the 5th officer.
Do you catch all of the other names?
The other names are the number 2 man, the Sabu.
Oh, okay.
The headquarters chief, which is what your mom does for the Shinsen, the advisor, and the counselor.
This is why if ever I start a criminal organization, I'm going to make sure all those nicknames are like completely incongruous with what their actual job is. Like I'm going to call my assassin the Tea Lady, for example. You know.
I don't know, man. If you told me somebody was the Tea Lady, I'd 100% be like, yep, that's the assassin for sure.
All right, so what was his title again? The what?
Counselor.
Counselor.
Just to be clear, counselor is not the same thing as advisor. In this case, counselor is meant to be legal counselor. And the advisor is someone who counsels you.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't say who number 1 is. Who the leader is.
Who the Oyabun of the Inuyamagumi on this thing? No. They don't have his name.
All right. So do I have a moment alone with the detective then?
I think you do. But I want to jump back and say, because it's now come up, you don't see the name of the Inuyamagumi Oyabun on that chart. There's a question mark there, and there are several articles showing that about 6 weeks ago, the leader of the organization was killed, and there's been a question as to internal strife as to who's going to replace him. So now we jump back to the detective and Kyeda.
So wait, I don't pick up that information?
You do pick up that.
Okay.
On your quick flip over, you know, like, obviously, when you look at a criminal chart, you're going to look at who's at the top, right? The top is a question mark, and there are articles that are like replacement for head of the Yakuza not known yet, and like killings proceed as top officers assassinate, you know, like bodies found in the river, natural causes, they say. I want to imagine that the detective is doing the thing where he leans back against the table so that he is half sitting on it, distributing butt weight onto the table uncomfortably, but also leaning forward at the same time in the way that someone who's really exhausted would do as he's having this conversation with you.
Detective, I love this Combine. I've been raised in this great nation of ours from childhood to put the coordinator first in all things. And I believe that in you, there is something of a kindred spirit. I have been shown recently in my purview as a lord that sometimes with the coordinator's knowledge, or perhaps with the coordinator's choice of ignorance, some things happen that would not appear to be part of the natural order, but their existence and the fact that they do go on means that the natural order can continue. In some ways, I think this is what the Yakuza do, and this is what I think that my friend Akari Genji is sometimes involved in. It doesn't make it pleasant for me to be a part of that, but I've been led to believe that it is a necessary thing. But I also believe it's a necessary thing that that sort of thing is always kept in check. That sort of thing is always challenged. That there are always people who push back against those things, even when they would appear to be benefiting the Combine overall, because unchecked, those things do become something which is out of control and not what our nation needs. So I don't think that we'll ever be friends because of the associations that I keep. But I hope that whatever this doldrum you're in is, you get over quickly, because the Combine needs people like you pushing back against people like my friends to make sure that the balance is maintained.
What do you want out of this?
Oh, I am just letting him know that, you know, look, as I said, I'm not expecting that we're going to be friends, but I want him to sort of, I guess, have a level of respect for the fact that we're pulling in different directions towards the same goal, and that I'm not trying to make him my enemy.
Okay. He hears what you're saying. Sucks in a breath between his teeth. Says, I know you're right about at least one thing. It's that things happen.
Thank you for your time, Detective. And I offer my hand to him.
Yeah. He does not take your hand. He gives you a respectful bow over your hand, because you're a samurai and he is a detective sergeant of a police force. Yeah. He may have some noble backing. You are still on a whole different atmosphere from him.
All right. Well, then I'll take my hand back and I'll return the bow, but I was not going as deep as he does. But,
okay.
You know, if he wants to play it that way, we'll play it that way.
Tradition, yeah.
Yeah. And
on
I'll
your
leave.
way out of the police station, having dropped off your red bean buns for a man who's sorely in need of calories, you find that it is a man standing alone. It's clear that he was driven here in a vehicle, and that there are people who are definitely Yakuza in that vehicle waiting for him. A sort of black panel van with the logo of the Shinsen Gumi on the side of it that just says Shinsen Cleaning Services bringing a new wind in. Probably one of their cover businesses. This man is wearing a black morning suit and a westernized black like trilby hat, and he has a injury to his right hand. He seems to be missing pinky fingers on both hands and has a fresh loss of a finger of his ring finger on his right hand. He is waiting outside the van respectfully with a small package and ignoring all of the police officers and civilians walking past him, and locks eyes with both of you as you exit the police precinct.
I'll look at Siegfried.
I think my hackles are kind of like raised. If the guy, you said the guy's looking at us.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll stop and make eye contact and see what he does. Like, just stop and stare at him.
He is looking intently at you. As he waits, there's no nervous shifting. He just slightly jiggles the sort of manila folder package in his hands when you're looking at him.
Okay. I'll
The van's waiting for him, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is not a drop off and run. Like they're not dubbing him off here. They're expecting to pick him up.
Okay. Shoot. I think Siegfried will approach him. I think his curiosity is getting the better of him. What's in the? You said the guy had a package or a folder?
It's a manila folder, but it is a package, and he's
okay.
You know, as you approach, he bows deeply and respectfully and says, "My lord, I am here to offer my condolences for your loss.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll give him like a slight bow back. I'm just looking at the manila folder.
Are a man in pursuit and in need of things. This unworthy one would never presume to order you to do anything. But if you were looking for what you wish to find, you may find it here, and he offers you the manila folder.
I think he begins to reach for it, and then before he like grabs it, he stops and he thinks, or he says to this guy, if I accept this, is some form of repayment expected?
This is a problem with high-level masquerades and non-literal speech. I need a second.
It's okay. We've already established Siegfried can't handle non-literal speech.
Right. So here's the thing. I'm going to have to talk through this. He can't say, we know that you're investigating this incident, because that would mean admitting that they have spies in the government. They also can't say, we think we know who did this, because ratting out other Yakuza is still a big no-no, right?
Even if the other Yakuza has murdered a member of your family?
Even if the Yakuza has murdered a murder of your family and basically pin the blame on you, you still can't be snitching, man. You just you literally just can't.
Yeah,
you just
I respect
can't.
it.
I think what he'll say is, this unworthy one can only offer entertainment and condolences during your time of need. Inside that folder is my business card at the ruby emblem. But if perhaps you were looking for entertainment that was not local, I have included several addresses in Shibaka where you might find the sort of release you're looking for. It was an honor to have a conversation with you, my lord, as he bows over the manila folder and offers it to you a second time.
Okay. I'll take the folder and I'll give him like a half bow back.
Leave the cannoli.
Thank him for giving me his business cards, and then I want to point to his hands and be like, you should see a doctor about that.
When mistakes are made, someone must pay.
I think I'm going to look at the folder and look at him and be like, someone will.
Nice. Yes.
He gives you a very genuine up nod, as he also slightly prefers his hat. And it's clear that he's still getting used to only having 3 fingers on his right hand as he does it. And then he steps into the van as one of his people close the van door as he, is his name Luther Fisk from Daredevil Marvel?
Wilson Fisk.
Wilson Fisk. Yeah, he sits down heavily in the van as he gets strapped in and the van starts zooming off.
Where must Kyeda's head? Like, where's Hiro? Like, his 2 companions, one is plastered all over the detective's Yakuza board with red lines. The other one is walking up to unmarked black vans, taking clandestine folders from obvious gaming.
It was marked with the Shinsengumi emblem. Yeah, with cleaning services.
So
His
is
two
that-
allies are straight gangsters at this point.
It came up in like a very early session. I can't remember who it was I was speaking to, but someone made the pitch. It might have been your character,
I think
Brad,
it was me. I think it was
of like the need to have organized crime and the fact that it's part, it's part of how society functions. And I made some sort of resistance roll and rolled like double one. So although
he fully believes that this.
Yeah. So yeah, like what I said before, the detective is what Hiro believes. He doesn't want to be a part of it, but he realizes he has to be a part of it. But he hopes that it's always challenged.
That's so funny. Every animal has an underbelly. Without it, its guts would fall out all over the floor.
Ooh, wow. What a great quote. I think the final scene of this episode is a sort of public forum for thinkers. I don't want to say it's Starbucks or something like that, but the kind of place where people would sit down and discuss the latest news before the internet became so huge that we just did it all on social media, because as is established in Battletech, the internet basically doesn't exist. People
in a bathhouse.
Oh, that's a good one, actually.
Like a big public sauna or something like that.
It is a bunch of men in the sauna at a bathhouse, and they are discussing a book of poetry by Isoroku Genji that has recently been released, and they are debating the meaning of the words, since it is there's a lot going on in the book and it's up for interpretation. Some people consider it to be borderline treason. Other people consider it to be brilliant. It is not quite coming to blows, but the fact that it has gotten far enough that I have to say that phrase makes it clear that this is extremely contentious, that people would even think of getting physical over something like a poetry book written by a former samurai. And that's where we're going to end this episode. I don't know that anyone completed a goal, but I could certainly...
I do want to modify one of my goals now that we're at the end of the session.
Yes.
I want to change the profitable business one to, excuse me again, to, like avenge Matsuri.
Avenge Matsuri.
Or at least get retribution for her death.
Okay. There's a fine difference between avenge and retribution.
Yes. The people responsible are going to pay. It may not be the person who pulled the trigger exactly, but
right. You understand exactly what the detective sergeant was talking about. Yes. Someone will pay. It may not be the person who pulled the trigger.
Right. I'm just trying to get us in the same region of someone who has to pay.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. So like my goal is find who's responsible, but the follow-up goal is definitely like, I don't know, it's kind of scorched earth. Like I want this to erase this organization, like not just find like the trigger puller. I want to eliminate them entirely. I want to find out this top 5 and I want to kill all 5 of them.
Okay. Just
you know what I mean?
Bringing yourself down to the level of personally slaughtering Yakuza might be in your job purview, but it's going to make things look real difficult back home with your Yakuza connections.
But that's what maybe. I don't think I care.
I agree that you don't care, but I just want to make sure that you're aware that, like, if you go out and you personally kill your family's enemies,
right,
and not your family's enemies like honorable samurai enemies, your gangster enemies, there are going to be questions of, like, how gangster are you, actually? Like, it's not even a question of, like, is this a cover-up? It's more like, I think she's shown where her loyalties actually lie. Finding the person responsible.
I think this works out better for Akari, because now if she can just put them in front of Siegfried will do the deed.
I mean, if Siegfried does it, that's a whole different story.
He's got all the cover.
Yeah.
He's getting revenge for his murdered wife.
Hey,
Right.
I was gonna say, we all have seen the movie Gladiator. There's nothing like vengeance for a murdered wife. All right.
Right.
Father of a murdered child.
Mm-hmm.
Vengeance in this life or the next.
Yep.
If you're going to Arthur, Gladiators are starting off in Australia again in a week's time. They've resurrected Gladiators from the
American Gladiators. You get Australian Gladiators.
Yeah, no, we
man.
had it back in the early '90s too, but yeah, now they're redoing it.
You know, I
One of the
fucking love
all-time
American
greatest-
Gladiators.
One of the all-time greatest show theme songs. It would get me so pumped as a young child whenever the song would come on at the beginning of the episode.
I love it. I include so many references in Solaris Nights to American Gladiators. I just fucking love it. You know, there'd be like the skinny twig guy, he's still kind of wiry, going up against a dude named Nitro.
Nitro.
He is as wide as the thing they're standing on. It's like, you gotta get past me. And this guy's like, oh shit.
He's so jacked up on gear that his veins are the size of the other man's forearms.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know that's right.
His back knee played Division One football by itself.
The Gladiators this year in Australia are Arrow, Chaos, Cobra, Comet, Cyclone, Dragon, Electra, Halo, Maximus, Phoenix, Raven, Spartan, and Viking.
Oh,
there's some classics in there.
Spartan? Yeah.
Electra was a classic, right? I think there was a Cyclone too.
I gotta find a way to stream this. I gotta watch it.
There was definitely a Viper as well, I think.
Yes.
Have you watched the documentary on it? I forget what streaming service it was on, but there's a really good documentary on the American Gladiators.
I'm so worried that if I watch it, it's going to be like everyone was on steroids the whole time.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I'm worried it's going to ruin it, like professional wrestling documentaries,
But
where
it's really
dude's
interesting.
Right up like a raisin, and he just goes, "Oh yeah, Vince McMahon ruined my whole fucking career."
They got a good like 4 or 5 of like the original cast, like from the first season, and they interview them and like they don't hold anything back. They snitch on each other.
Don't
Like,
kill
what's
my
his name was a
childhood,
crazy
man.
man.
I don't want to know.
and
I don't want to know.
It was good. You'd like it. It was good.
I'm worried that I would like it, but then it would ruin my childhood.
It talks a lot about how they were kind of like, it talks a lot about like just the phenomenon of it, right? Like it's just this insane explosion in popularity, and it was like a super shoestring budget, and they didn't really understand how to do the show because there had never been a show like it, and it was incredibly unsafe. Like people were absolutely getting permanently fucked up for the rest of it. Like contestants were getting like absolutely shit canned on the show.
I mean, they were literally fighting with giant foam rollers on top of giant foam rollers.
Well, there's like the dude that like shattered his collarbone. Like there were a bunch of like really intense, serious injuries.
I always wanted to know with the giant hamster ball things how no one rolled their ankle through the bars on
through
one
the
of those.
holes. Yeah. But I don't know. It's a really good documentary. If you like American Gladiators, I'd say it's a good watch. I just got to find out which streaming service it was on.
So apparently it's been rebooted this year in Australia and the UK. On the two they're doing it this year.
Damn Commonwealth and their good TV series and how hard it is to get them.
It's time to move, I guess.
Can't they just make another Doctor Who spinoff? That way I know I won't have to watch it.
I might be coming through Australia in April-ish time frame. We'll see. I'll keep you posted.
Oh, we're going to do another stream where you appear in the back of James's house.
Yeah, in the background of someone else's picture.
Okay. Is there anything we need to discuss before we sign off here? God, this is a late episode, but we haven't had an episode in a long ass time.
Yeah.
Are we good for next week on the 11th? I feel like we had a schedule.
I might be a little late, but I'm pretty sure I can make it.
Okay.
That should be good.
That should be good.
Excellent. We're going to get some goals done, I think. And we're definitely going to bust some heads. Audience at home, Patreon gets this first. Subscribe at any level on Patreon, but you'll get it in a week's later time on the YouTubes. I hope you've enjoyed it. I think we had fun here. I was really worried that like 80% of the episode had no James in it, but fortunately I was able to get him back in there at the end. And I'm glad he had something he was doing the whole time.
No, I mean it was.
We
I
were
was
definitely very heavy on the Vengeance crew for sure.
I was certainly paying attention, but I was more of the mind that like my assessment would be, if they need somebody to take a fall right now, then how do we do make a public example and then deal with it over a longer time? But I didn't think that you could really talk about working with organized crime collaboratively in the same scene with the Baron, basically.
That's something you definitely wouldn't do.
No.
That's the sort of thing that would be implied but never spoken out loud directly.
I'm really glad that Akari wasn't there. I think it was a much more interesting scene with just the two of you talking to the detective. I think that worked out really good.
I think it would have been very different if Akari was there, for sure.
Yes, it would have been very different.
James definitely did all the talking. I was just there. I figured he was going to do some like legalese or ISF BS to the guy. So I was like, I'm just going to let James talk.
But you're right. Your character being the widower, definitely adds, like, wherever you go, it adds an incredible amount of legitimacy to the investigation. Right? Like,
Right.
It's just going to be one of the this is a real stretch for non-Fate fans, but the Fate Zero contract where he go, it's just going to be Akari going, you know what? If you sign this, I won't kill you. They sign it, and then Siegfried steps out of the shadows and goes, I'm not Akari.
What is the show?
Just wait for Akari
The Expanse.
to chuck a grenade in.
If anybody's seen The Expanse, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen the series and read the books.
Yeah. He's not that guy.
Scene was so fucking hard where he gets
So
gets everybody out of the airlock.
Yeah.
Listen, I like Amos. I like him a lot. He's still not the most heinous fucking dude on that show because of who's drummer's partner? Cleese Sangford? Is that his name? Cleese Sangford? The old pirate dude.
The old pirate? Yeah.
He's basically just like, yep, I'm an old pirate. Now I'm going legit.
Yeah.
Literally singing a song while he's dying. I'm like, damn, this is the hardest dude right here. This is who Amos wants to grow up as.
Amos is 100% textbook how you'd put a vengeance paladin in a show.
Which is funny because he is a tabletop RPG character.
Yeah.
He is. The Expanse is based off of a tabletop RPG game by George R.R. Martin's writing assistant as the dungeon master.
How to live by a code and not be a good guy. Like, absolutely. Puts on a clinic on how to do it.
It's all about Baltimore, man.
Yeah. It's all about the churn.
Oh, the churn. Okay. All right. I'm stopping the recording now, audience. Get out of here. Go.